hello everybody. Welcome to this Bloomz Artist three-way conversation. While we're getting the other two ladies on, let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing here. The Bloomz is a group of amazing artists. I'm lucky enough to be an associate member of the Bloomz, and the Bloomz artists are wonderful artists from all over the world. We have lovely Elisa down there in Italy. We have Mac there in Scotland. We've got artists in New Zealand, in Australia, in Switzerland, all over the UK. And the Bloomz got together a couple of years ago, trying to sell their art online during the pandemic, formed this lovely cohesive group of amazing artists that got on so well together. And whilst they couldn't do shows out and about galleries like they were used to doing, they decided to form the Bloomz group and to produce an art show, which now annually, an online art show like you've never seen before. I say I was very lucky to be asked to help out with that art show and to host it. And for my sins, I then get to have an associate membership to the Bloomz. So I'm thrilled to be involved. And the idea is that the Bloomz art show has all the artists in their studios live, and I'll emphasize that, live all over the world at the same time. And visitors to the show can go and visit these people, these artists, these amazing artists in their rooms and speak to them live, talk to them about their art, find out how they got to do their art, find out about their medium. And we have got sculptors, we've got fiber sculptors, we have got visual artists, we have got figurative artists, oils, watercolors, encaustic wax, everything you can imagine in the art world, we have that covered. And what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks, because the show is the 29th and the 30th of April, so it's looming fast approaching us, and it's over 2 days. We have a show on the Friday evening, that's Friday the 29th of April at 7 p.m. GMT +1. All the times I quote are going to be GMT times. And then on the Saturday, we have 10 a.m. GMT +1 and 7 p.m. So there's 3 chances to get to see all these wonderful artists. And the idea now is that we do these little 3-way chats. So I'm not going to host this. I'm just going to be a member of this 3-way chat. The lovely Elisa there in Italy. Whereabouts in Italy are you, Elisa?
I'm in central Italy. I live just 1 hour from the Colosseum, Steve.
1 hour from the Colosseum.
Yeah.
You lucky thing. And Mac, where do we find you today?
You find me in Glasgow in Scotland.
Glasgow. So 3 accents. We've got a Midlander, a Scot, and a lovely Italian princess, as I call Elisa, over there. So the idea is, ladies, that we have a little chat about our art. Let's tell you what, Mac, we'll start off with you.
Okay.
If that's all right, if that's okay. We'll find out a little bit about, don't look scared, Elisa and I aren't going to put you under the Spanish Inquisition, don't worry about that. But because as I mentioned in my intro there, we've got loads of very different artists, and you're a visual artist. Explain a little bit about what you do and how you got to do what you do.
Well, I started drawing as a sculptor, or drawing as an artist when I was given a pencil at school, in primary school. But going through my life, I've always been an artist. I've always had that desire to make and create. Otherwise, I don't feel myself. And the reason why I use the materials that I use now is because I was very ill for a very long time. And 7 years bedbound, and my worst stage, I couldn't eat, I couldn't chew, eat, speak, draw, I couldn't write and express myself. And I started creating installations in my head, and the doctor had said to my husband, is she chewing? And by that time I had been chewing, and I thought I'll make that connection. So chewing for me is a kind of celebration of being able to express myself. So I create work chewing chewed gum.
Wow. I mean, there's so many things that Elisa and I could ask you about there. The one thing that's going through my mind is the fact that each artist is very different, but where your art came from is probably so unusual from most artists. So art is really actually so much a part of your being, and how you got here is so emotional, isn't it?
It is, but it's also a connection to what we all have, I believe, is our human spirit, that drive to survive and create and express who we are.
Elisa, what have you got to ask Mac about her art? I mean, we could talk to Mac all day about her.
Yes, well, Mac, I think she's the symbol of the great ability to give to unusual materials really a second life. My favorite piece of yours, Mac, is the lotus flower, the bowl, the rounded one. And I've always thought that flower is really the symbol of a renaissance, no? Rebirthing to a new life. And I know that Mac is a very spiritual artist. So everyone that wants to know something more about angels, about Akashic records, and about all these unusual practices, unusual for me, for example, because, I am a totally new at this, but Mac is the right person. And of course, you will be able to speak to her along the show. So many opportunities to get to know things and fields and topics that really are unknown for all of you.
Matt, the spiritual side of your art, how did that develop alongside your illness and everything? Did it come at the same time as the 3D art, or was that before or after?
Spirituality, as I call it, has been knocking on my door since I was a child, a small child, and unfortunately my experiences were frightening. And during lockdown, it just seemed an ideal opportunity to connect. And at first I connected with the angels, because partly the reason that both parents had died, unfortunately, and I wanted to somehow connect, particularly with my mother, and she was very much into angels, and it was a connection with her that led me to the angels, and then to other aspects and the healing modalities that I've been exploring, including the Akashic records, Dragon Reiki, and others as well.
So how do you bring the spiritual side of it into making your pieces? Is that always that separate?
It is both separate and connected, because I don't think I can ever disconnect anything of my experiences. But I've been using things like crystals and pearls, which speak to me very much about the spiritual sense, and bring aspects of that, aspects of healing, aspects of connection to the...
And you put those into the art itself, do you? Or do you use them when...
Yes, sometimes it's in, sometimes it'll be on. It depends on the artwork.
So how long does it take you to create a piece? Because going back, for those of you people that have just joined in, Mac makes her pieces mainly from chewed gum. So, I mean, that must take a hell of a long time. And also, it's not an instant setting thing. It needs to dry out, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And also just the fact that, one packet is 10 pellets. And really, for health's sake, only 10 pellets per day. Wow. So you can imagine how long it takes to actually create a piece, but also need to wait until it's at the appropriate stage of non-stickiness to be able to use it for a particular piece.
Wow.
And then once you've built it up, to let the whole piece dry off. So a piece that I make this year might not be ready until next year, or depending how compact it is, it might take even longer to dry out. Once it's dried out, it's rock hard.
Yeah. And do you find that over that period that it's sort of going off, as it, or sort of going hard, Do your thoughts about that piece change at all? Do you think I need now my emotional state has changed, I need to alter that piece, or does that ever happen?
I think when I'm creating them, most of the time is sometimes it's concurrent with the piece, but very much I'm working in an intuitive level, and over time, a particular aspect of that will come to the fore. So it gives time for that to develop. Yeah.
The only artist that I know that carries her own government health warning about not eating too much chewing gum per day. You literally cannot create more than you do.
Well, I could, but it's not very good.
Yeah. Say that you used to do installations. Do you still aim to do any of those again, or?
Oh, I'd love to do site-specific installations again. Where it was so good, but because they were site-specific, you need to be able to travel and go to sites. And really immersed. And I suppose that is a connecting to spirituality, because it's very empathic and picking up the vibes of the space and working with that, as well as the physicality of it or the history of some other aspect.
Well, your art certainly is thought-provoking, and to bring in the angel part of it as well gives a whole nother dimension. Do you not think that, Elisa?
Yeah, it's something more. There's a deeper level besides reality and the physical reality. There is so much more, and so I totally relate to Mac's activity. Yeah.
So, Elisa, the emotional and spiritual side, in a way, comes into your art as well, doesn't it? We're going to talk about you now.
Yes, it's behind me in my last piece. Yes, in a different way, of course, because we are all unique. So every artist has his or her approach. In my case, I'm a figurative painter, and I mainly paint women portraits. I decided to concentrate my activity on this because I think that I can witness all the complications of being a wife, a mother, a professional, because I am an engineer as a full-time job, and now an artist who wants to express and fully blossom in my life. And I know that women can and must face so many challenges, and so I think that I can understand them. I can paint this wonderful attitude of giving and also celebrating, which is something that we tend to forget because we always carry the weight on our shoulders for other people, and we really tend to forget our wellness and our needs. Yeah,
I think that's really relevant in over the past 2 years as well, because of what's been happening.
Yeah.
But have you got anything to ask Elisa there, Matt? Because I don't want this all to be about me and my questions, because I've got always have loads.
Quite all right. I know you love doing this, Steve. So I've just thought, okay, fine, okay. But one of the questions I'd love to ask Elisa is, I am fascinated by your process of doing bespoke portraits of people that you don't, in my understanding, and you can fill in the gaps, my understanding is you don't just do a portrait as in the likeness, that you capture that person's essence, their soul.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Exactly. What if we want to be portrayed just for our beauty? Beauty goes away, fades a long time. And I don't think that beauty is related to wrinkles or hair or whatever. So my portraits are a sort of connection between likeness, of course, because a customer wants to be recognized in a portrait, but also at a deeper level connected to the psychology. And I am using an innovative method which I implemented, which is based on archetypes. These come from Carl Gustav Jung's psychology, and they are general models of behavior and of beliefs that we can find in across all cultures. And speaking to a person, I am able to detect the main archetypes that she embodies, and I can help her to bring this out, and I bring this out as well on the canvas. I usually use Greek goddesses archetypes, which are familiar for my personal education, since I studied Latin and Greek when I was younger. And it's quite funny as a process because it starts like a game, but then you realize that it's really more than a game, because you understand the weak points of your personality, and you can change them. And the archetype painting can help to enhance the positive aspects and really balance the negative ones, because of course every archetype has good and bad points, and we can work on that as well. Thank you, Steph. You're so generous.
Yes, Steph just said quite rightly, you can see people's souls. Is it? But what gets me is this sort of counterposition between being an engineer, which is very sort of black and white part of your life, and then being this wonderful artist that can see all these almost auras around women and bring them out into painting. I mean, Mac, I went through a process with Elisa to buy Steph a present about a year or so ago, which was because I think you beat me to buying her geisha, didn't you? The first geisha.
Yes, you are connected.
Your fault.
You two are connected.
Actually, it worked out brilliantly, because then I was able to commission Elisa to do a geisha for Steph. And the process was almost as enjoyable as the final result, because Elisa and I would talk almost illicitly every day on text that I would hide from Steph. And I had, in fact, Steph might bring it in a minute for me to show you, but it was a lovely process, because there's so much two-way going on between the client, which was me, and Elisa, but she seemed to know, without me telling her, exactly what was needed and what Steph wanted. And because she knows Steph well from their conversations, although none of us have ever met in person, you can tell an awful lot from somebody by their body language, their conversation. And you brought out, I think Steph's going to show you, there it is, look there. Now, you may be wondering, why isn't that on the wall? It's because Steph won't put it on the wall. She carries it from room to room, wherever she is. So it never gets to be put on the wall. That is always in the room where Steph is at the time.
Thank you.
She'll take it down to a workshop, she'll take it everywhere, and it's just beautiful. And I remember seeing that now, Elisa, reminds me of the conversations we had where you were bringing that to life, and we chose the red, the peony in the hair, and we toyed with the idea of should we have red lipstick, and we decided not to. The whole process made me smile from start to finish.
It works if we find a connection between me and you, because I paint you, but you have to bring your soul with your words, and you have to allow me to come into your life. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but when it works, it's fantastic. So
it's the same with all art, isn't it? Sometimes it works. I'm sure you get, Mac, that some pieces that you start on, either you decide, no, this isn't going to work, or maybe it turns out differently to what you planned.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes they're throwaway. You just think, well, it's part of the process of learning, and because you need to experiment.
Yes, experimenting is something that I do a lot with my lamps as well.
yes,
Experimenting and trying to decide what will work and what won't work. Yeah, it is quite a process we all go through, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I just want to say to Alicia, the more and more that I speak to you and know about you, I think you operate on a spiritual level. I truly do.
I'm trying. I'm trying to learn.
I don't think you need to try. I think you're doing it.
I think
Thank
that's
you.
quite right, because Steph's very much got into the spiritual world recently, and I felt myself drawn into it, even though I didn't really have any intentions of being drawn into it. And I think that's the same with speaking to artists, isn't it? You talk to an artist, and inadvertently you get ideas, and the idea might be a concept, the idea might be an emotion, the idea
Exactly.
might be just that you found something with that artist that can inspire you with your work. And that's what happens with me, because
Yeah.
it wasn't until over 12 months ago that I called myself an artist, because I didn't consider myself an artist, because at the time I was just making lamps, I thought. And then the more I think it was actually when Steph called herself an artist, she then convinced me that what I was doing was art. And I started to refine what I was doing. Can you hear feedback at all, anybody?
Yes,
No,
I can.
Yeah,
Yes, I
okay.
can.
I can hear you.
Steph, have you got your microphone on, really? I think it's stopped now. I think
Yeah,
maybe Steph
stop
had a
now.
microphone on. But yes, so my art started, I started making lamps really to help Steph out at her shows. When she first started doing her sculptures, I made some bottle lamps and some book lamps to light up her stand, and then somebody wanted to buy them. And then I thought, why should she get all the glory and selling things? So I decided to start making pipe lamps, and it literally has just developed over the last year or so, in that I became sort of convinced that I could make lamps look like people, and all I'm dealing with is pipe
And
fitting.
they do.
But yeah,
They
this is
do.
the thing. This is the thing. At first, I thought this is silly. Surely, I'm just dealing with iron pipe fittings, and I've got a variety of different bends, and I keep finding different ones. But then I've never considered myself an artist. But then I spent many years designing people's gardens. I was a horticulturalist, a garden designer. So I suppose that in itself is art. And then when I started to refine my lamps and make them more characterful, the art side of it slipped in, because I'm a bit of a pedantic person. I'm a pedant, and I can't let things go if it's not quite right. So then I started to refine things and add little bits and make them more and more like people. And then it went one stage further, in that I actually started making them are real people that actually live or have lived. And that was a real turning point, when somebody, I think the first one was somebody said, could you make a lamp of the guitarist Dave Gilmour from Pink Floyd? And I thought, how the hell am I going to do that? It's just impossible. But then you have to pick something of that person that denotes them. And with Dave Gilmour, it was his stance and the type of guitar he was playing. And then it's just gone on from there, really. It's that's.
I like it. I like your works because there is a lot of research in finding the right symbol, the right object to associate to the lamp in itself, because you have to make it recognizable. You have to make the immediate connection, the visual connection with the person who just walks and looks at them. And so I find them funny and very original.
Yeah, thank you. That's lovely. And thank you, Marion, for that lovely comment. Yes, I mean, it is about finding that little quirky bit that makes it that person. I mean, the one behind me of Jimi Hendrix, you can see there. I mean, he was, in some ways, one of the easiest to do. And I go up to my workshop, and I may have an idea of what I'm going to do, and I get all the bits out, and sometimes it just flows. And with Jimi Hendrix, it was as though I was channeling the Jimi Hendrix within me. It just came, and I instantly knew, and there was no problems with that lamp. Normally, you get a little bit of a hiccup, and you have to start again. But with that, it just flowed, and instantly, like your art, Elisa, and your 3D sculptures there, Mac. You know when something is right, don't you?
Yeah. Yes,
Absolutely.
of course.
I was fascinated, Steve, by keep being fascinated about thing, that your transition between going from what could be considered craft to art, and how that made you feel inside when you made that transition.
Well, I think with a lot of people that do that, it is that sort of imposter syndrome for a bit, isn't it? Because we'd been selling at art and craft shows and nicely, and my lamps weren't anywhere near as detailed. But it was Steph who inspired me, because she went up many levels in one leap from her needle felting to her fibre sculptor, and then to becoming, how we call her, the fibre alchemist, because she seems to make these things just magically appear out of fibre. And it was her attaining that level of genius, I suppose, in what she does, that inspired me to try the same sort of thing, to say, well, how can I take these to a next level? And it is a little bit scary, because from one level, you're moving yourself out of a comfortable zone where you know that lots of your things are going to sell because the price point is in the reach of most people, to be fair. But then in order to attain the art-led lamps that I make now, it takes a lot longer, a lot more expensive pieces, and then the little guitars that I use. And of course, your price point goes up, so you move into another client level, and it is a bit worrying. But once you get there, Mac, and you accept it, and you know that you're not going to sell as many, but the ones you can sell. And I think what I love is, of course, and then you might not know this, but I do commissions. I do commissions, which not a lot of people know that. We're getting some lovely comments. I'm sorry to everybody that we're missing the comments, because we're chatting.
They're asking how can they join our online exhibition. So we're going to speak just a little bit more about the show.
Do you want me to do that, folks, or does one of you want to do it? Or
it's the same. Well, okay, I can do, of course. So our next show, art show, so comfortably from your house, you can join us in our Zoom environment, Zoom Art Gallery, and on the 29th and 30th of April. And you have to take your complimentary ticket, but it's just a way to access, because it's free. And you will find a lot of amazing art waiting for you, and made from artists coming from all over the world. We have got Australian and New Zealander, from Italy, Scotland, UK, and all forms of art are present, and you will be able to learn a lot of new things about media that we use, and also all the type of art that we make. For example, portraiture, abstract, and landscape. So 3D installations and lamps and fiber sculpture with Stephanie Lester. And so a lot of choice and a lot of fun, because I think that we have to demystify the art world, and we, as the Bloomz, we want to bring art to your houses, because I am aware, even if I am an artist, that when I get into an art gallery and I look around and the person comes to me and say, okay, can I help you? So I feel intimidated, because I just want to take a look and have an idea, and then I can ask if I want to. And this is a unique experience that allows people to get in touch with real people that make the pieces, and which is something that
it's very important to say that this isn't a big sales push. You can buy art at the exhibition. Mariam was just asking that. You can buy, if you see a piece you want, you can say to the artist, I'm going to buy that off you, and you and the artist can get in touch and sort it out. But it's really about letting people know about all these different art forms, all these different artists, and to break down, as you said quite rightly, Elisa, this sort of very almost sort of stuffiness of art galleries, where you don't feel
Elitarianism.
You need to be able to talk to people, talk to artists, and the show reels running in each of the artist studios at the same time. So if the artist is talking to somebody else, you can watch their show reel. But then when it's your turn, you can chat to the artists and have a real good heart-to-heart about their techniques. You may not want to buy immediately, but you've got them on your radar then. This is the thing.
Yeah.
As the artist, isn't it wonderful to speak to an artist? And the good thing again about this, we haven't really made enough of, is tickets are free. There's no cost to come and join and be a visitor. You have to log on to the bloomz.co.uk. It's Bloomz with a Z, B-L-O-O-M-Z. But of course, by now you will have followed the Bloomz Art House Instagram page. Naturally, you would have all followed that. And then you can get your tickets. You have to get a ticket to register, and you get all the details, and then you can find out about the artist, have a look at the brochure, online brochure. And we're all going to be there, aren't we, Mac? We're going to have new things to show.
Absolutely. And for those people who have experienced Zoom before, it is not how you have experienced it before.
Very,
very, very different. And as we have been chatting here, on screen, on live on Instagram, it is basically what will happen on Zoom, but you will also be able to see our work in the background.
Yeah, and the Bloomz itself, the core Bloomz, is just 7 of you artists. I'm the sort of the associate member, but the exciting thing is that we've got 7 guest artists for this show. These are 7 new artists that have we've invited because their work is stunning, their work is different, and they are approachable, engaging artists. We forgot when we talked about where they're from, we forgot Switzerland, didn't we? I
forgot.
Katarina in Switzerland.
Yes.
It's wonderful. So you see, so many artists, so many countries, but the world's getting smaller and smaller with the Bloomz because we're all under one roof for those shows. I think
beauty and art have no boundaries.
No boundaries. Art with no boundaries. There's a good line to finish with. Well, it's been great talking to you guys. It really has.
And
been wonderful. Can't wait to see you again at the show at the end of this next month. And I've got some new lamps to show, and I'm sure you two have got some great stuff to show us as well. And
yes, my collection will be about the inner child. So
the inner child. Wow.
That sounds
fabulous. Inner child. That sounds good. That sounds good. I love it when artists tease you. I've got a bit of fantasy, sci-fi and fantasy to show everybody at the show as well. Some things that I'm working on, and I know that all our artists have got amazing new pieces, new collections, which they only launch at the Bloomz show once a year. So that's it, folks. Thank you so much, everybody, for
thank you to you, Steve. You're great host as usual.
Yes, absolutely.
It's been lovely for us to have a chat together. It's just like having a cup of tea in a cafe with you both. It's not Italian coffee. And we haven't got the wonderful
that would be even better.
Sights and sounds of Glasgow around us, have we? But we'll see you all, and thanks to Steph there at the Bloomz Art House for hosting this today for us. And check out the Bloomz Art House both on Facebook and Instagram. If you miss any of these interviews, you can catch them all there. Have a nice evening, ladies.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.